Welcome to the True Assassins podcast.
Oh, man. I'm pumped for this one.
Me too. Today we're diving into some seriously dark and twisted territory, inspired by Orlando Madsbrine's book, True Kill.
Yeah, True Kill. Great book. So many messed up stories in there.
Our listeners sent in some seriously gripping material focusing on, well, basically the psychological fallout of a life swimming in violence.
The dark side of the cloak and dagger, huh?
Yeah.
The consequences of, when that whole the ends justify the means thing gets taken too far.
Exactly. We've got excerpts detailing a veteran assassin who gets a dose of his own medicine.
Woo! Karma's yacht.
In a very literal, haunting way.
I bet.
And then we're going to take a look at Niccolo Machiavelli, the infamous political philosopher.
Machiavelli? No way!
Yeah, but not just the theory. We're talking about the dude actually putting his ruthless ideas into practice with some seriously deadly results.
Man, that's heavy stuff.
It is. So strap in, everybody, because we're about to unpack these narratives, try to make sense of the darkness inside these guys, and see what their experiences tell us about the minds of those who choose violence. You ready?
Born ready.
Hit me. All right. Let's jump into the first story, The Damned. It's about this hardened assassin, Marcus. The guy's hired for what seems like an easy gig, clearing out a supposedly haunted mansion.
Haunted, huh?
That's the rumor. But Marcus is all about real-world danger. Guns, knives, that kind of thing. Ghosts. Not really his scene.
Right, pragmatic guy, practical.
Exactly. But the client's a billionaire, desperate to get rid of whatever's haunting his place. And he's offering a crazy amount of cash. So Marcus takes the job.
Full money talks, right. Especially in that line of work.
It does. But what I found interesting was that the mansion itself initially plays into Marcus's skepticism. We're talking like classic haunted house vibes, creaking floorboards, blood red light shining through stained glass windows, weird whispers and echoes of laughter, the whole 9 yards.
Spooky ambiance. Sets the scene.
Yeah. And at first Marcus is just like, okay, old house, creaky floors, whatever.
He's trying to rationalize it, right? Stay in control.
Exactly. He's looking for a logical explanation for everything. He even sees something moving in the basement and immediately thinks ghost. But then it turns out to be just a stray cat.
Ah, a moment of relief.
Exactly. But then things take a turn.
Oh, here we go.
You start getting these silent clocks ticking away, but with no batteries inside. And then there's this music box playing a sad tune. But what really gets to me is that there's this creepy child's laughter mixed in with the music. Like, imagine that, right? A sad, slow song, and then giggles.
Yeah, that's super unsettling. It's like something's broken, like in the fabric of things. It's not right.
No, it's not right at all. And this is where things really start to get to Marcus. He's in the ballroom, and he hears this voice whisper, "You remember me, murderer?"
Ooh.
Right. And it's not a ghost, not in the traditional sense.
Yeah.
It's actually triggering a memory for Marcus. It's the voice of a corrupt politician he took out on a previous job.
So, like, his own past is coming back to haunt him.
It seems that way. As if his guilt is using the mansion as a way to manifest itself.
Okay, but I'm still a little fuzzy on the haunting. It's not ghosts, but it's not just in his head either, right?
Right. It's hard to explain. But things get a lot more intense after that whisper. The whispers turn into screams, and then Marcus actually starts seeing the ghosts of his victims. The socialite he poisoned, the general he took out during a coup. He even sees blood on the tapestries, fresh blood, as if the murders just happened.
Wow, that's some next-level haunting.
And Marcus? He's a trained killer. His first instinct is to fight back, but his weapons just pass right through the ghosts.
That's got to be terrifying. All your skills, your training, and none of it works against these things.
Exactly. And each room he enters just brings a new form of torture. His own sniper rifle, something he's used to kill countless times, turns on him. He sees his reflection in the scope, like he's the target.
That's just cold.
Knives rise up against him, controlled by some unseen force. The walls seem to pulse with the echoes of his crimes. It's like the mansion itself is a physical manifestation of his guilt.
It's like it's alive, feeding off his darkness or something.
Something like that, yeah. It's pretty messed up.
So what happens next? Does he figure out how to break the curse or whatever?
He eventually finds the billionaire who hired him, hiding in the attic, totally freaked out. The guy's babbling about how they won't leave him alone. And I think that's when it really hits Marcus, that this isn't a random haunting. This is the price he's paying for the life he's led.
His chickens have come home to roost.
Yes, exactly. And all that money he was going to get, it doesn't matter anymore. He's trapped, not just in the house, but in his own past. But even though he's terrified, he's still a trained assassin. So he does what he knows how to do. He He reaches for his gun, ready for a final stand.
Against an enemy he can't even touch. That's rough, man.
It is. And that's when the ghosts actually attack him physically. They're like these tendrils of energy choking him, their faces all around him, those people he's killed. It's not just a psychological torture anymore, it's physical. And as they drag him away, his scream isn't just fear, it's the realization that he created this hell for himself.
Wow. So what's the message here? Don't be an assassin.
I think it's more than that. I think it's saying that even if you think you can compartmentalize violence, treat it like it's just a job, you can't escape the consequences. It'll get you one way or another.
Yeah, that makes sense. Deep stuff, man. Deep stuff.
Now, for something completely different, ready for Machiavelli.
Bring it on. Let's see what the father of realpolitik is up to.
So this excerpt, The Prince's Poison, dives into Machiavelli's life. And you were right. It talks about how he goes from this brilliant political theorist to a guy who actually uses those theories to kill.
Wait, he actually killed people. I thought he was just a writer.
He was. But remember how his book, The Prince, is all about getting and keeping power. It's pretty ruthless, even amoral at times. Well, this story is about what happens when he takes his own advice.
Intriguing. So how does it all start?
His first victim was this greedy nobleman from Florence, poisoned him with arsenic at a banquet.
Whoa, that's cold. And calculating?
Very much so. It's a complete shift for Machiavelli, from just analyzing power to using it, even if it means getting his hands dirty, literally.
Right. From the guy who wrote the book on power to the guy who's wielding it.
Exactly. And it doesn't stop there. His methods get even more creative, if you can call them that. Plague-laced letters, poisoned objects. He becomes this shadowy figure everyone fears. The guy pulling the strings from the shadows.
So he becomes the kind of ruler he writes about in The Prince. That's kind of ironic.
It is. But this life, it starts to wear on him. Just like Marcus, he's haunted, but not by literal ghosts.
By what then?
By the faces of his victims. He's constantly seeing them, even when he tries to justify his actions.
Makes sense. Can't escape your conscience, right? No matter how much you try to rationalize it all.
Exactly. And there's this scene where his friend, Leonardo da Vinci, warns him about poisoning his own soul.
Da Vinci. Wow, that's an interesting connection.
Yeah, but Machiavelli, he's too far gone at this point. He can't turn back.
He's in too deep.
Yeah. And then comes his most audacious move. He decides to target Cesare Borgia.
Borgia, the ultimate power player.
Exactly. Machiavelli, he had this complicated view of Borgia. He respected his ruthlessness, but he also saw him as a warning, like, this is what I could become if I'm not careful.
A dark reflection.
Right. So he decides to eliminate Borgia, almost like he's trying to control the very forces he unleashed.
Then how does he do it? Another poison-laced cannoli.
This time, it's even more devious. He tricks Borgia into shaking his hand, but the handshake delivers a deadly fungus, something Machiavelli cultivated himself.
Wow. That's cold.
Yeah. It's like the ultimate betrayal. He uses trust, something fundamental to human connection, as a weapon.
The ultimate Machiavellian move.
Exactly. But when Borgia's dead, Machiavelli doesn't feel the triumph he expected. Instead, he feels empty. Italy is still in chaos, and he realizes that his philosophy has transformed him into the very kind of monster he was studying.
It backfired on him.
Yeah, it's this devastating realization. And in a powerful gesture, he burns his own book, The Prince.
He burns his own masterpiece. Damn.
It shows how disillusioned he's become. He realizes that pursuing power through purely amoral means doesn't lead to anything good. It just leaves you empty, both inside and out.
So what happens to him after that? Does he become a monk and repent?
Not quite. He lives a quieter life, but he's still haunted by what he's done. He keeps writing, but his work is different now. It's full of regret and a kind of weary wisdom. The assassinations stop, but the consequences remain. He learns the hard way that ruthless power comes at a price.
A hefty price.
So what do you think, listener? What does all this tell us about violence and the people who use it? We've seen a literal haunting and an internal moral collapse. Two very different paths, but both leading to a reckoning.
Yeah. Both these guys, Marcus and Machiavelli, they're forced to deal with what they've done. Marcus gets the supernatural smackdown. Machiavelli, it's more of a slow burn, but just as devastating. It makes you think, doesn't it? Is there any way to escape the consequences of violence? Or does it always leave a mark on everyone involved?
And is there any real justice? Does suffering, whether it's from ghosts or guilt, balance the scales?
Big questions, man.
They are, but they're worth thinking about.
Definitely.
So keep these stories in mind as you move through the world. Pay attention to the choices people make, the justifications they offer, and the consequences that follow. Because violence, whether it's physical or psychological, leaves a ripple effect that we can't ignore.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And that's it for this episode of the True Assassins podcast. Thanks for joining us for this journey into the dark side of human nature. Remember to rate and follow us for more addictive cloak and dagger stories. Until next time, stay safe out there.